ask him what. Robbie. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start off by saying thank you, everyone, for coming today. Your constant support, friendship, and dedication to the community and the city is appreciated. I would like to acknowledge Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner, some of my colleagues here today, Deputy Commissioner Michael Garner, Special Counsel to the Mayor Lisa Zonnenberg, Deputy Mayor Fabian Levy, Commissioner Edward Mermelstein, Deputy Chief of Staff Menashe Shapiro. Also, I would like to acknowledge Deputy Counsel General Tzach Zar and our amazing partner organizations here today. Your work to help our survivor population is duly appreciated. I would like especially to thank the Museum of Jewish Heritage for opening its doors for us and for all the amazing work that you do daily. I want to call upon the Chairman of the Museum of Jewish Heritage, Bruce Ratner.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I want to thank you all for being here. Welcome to being to an incredible place. I always say I'm involved in lots of things in the city. There's nothing that's more important to me than this museum. And I often think, I look over there and I see Ellis Island, I know my father got there. And so that's an incredible thing to me. So let me talk about our mayor. First of all, I've known you a long time, a very long time. When you were borough president, you were a great borough president, and I'm going to say this as many times as I can, you are a great mayor, a great mayor. And I have worked for two administrations, the Lindsay administration for 4 years, the Koch administration for 4 years. There is something that this mayor has done which not a single other mayor has ever done, and that is say we are going to eliminate or reduce hate against all groups, not only Jewish, but all groups, whether it be Asian and so on. And I've had other mayors, they've been great and wonderful mayors, but if you think about it, it's the single most important thing that a mayor can do is bring everybody together, and this mayor has done that and continues to do that. And you know what? You are our Danish rescue. You are. So you saw the exhibit. Why do I say that? Your fight against anti-Semitism, against hate with other groups, whether it be Asians or Jews, you have been an incredible friend to the Jewish people, whether it was protection of neighborhoods, whether it was speaking out against stabbings and terrible things that have happened to Jews and to others. You are the one. I have never seen a mayor so committed to eliminating and reducing hate ever. And you have done an extraordinary job at that. And I want to tell you, I could talk forever. I've seen so many administrations. I have been in the city at a time when we couldn't afford to have kindergartens. And so I've seen this city with great crime problems. Our crime is probably as low as it has been since my many years in the city, which is a lot of years. And this mayor has done a very, very good job. And this is not a campaign speech. This is the truth. It is not, really. Couldn't say that more. You know, I'm fortunate to be married to someone who runs the Brooklyn Public Library system. You have been wonderful to libraries, among many others. But we have an incredible mayor, and for Jews, you have been our savior, really. And I cannot thank you enough for everything you have done and that you continue to do, and know that every person in this room supports you. I can guarantee you that, really. So with that, I would like to introduce the wonderful mayor of the city of New York and borough president, I will add. Thank you.
Bruce is so right. Our relationship goes so far back, and he has been extremely supportive throughout the years of, you know, much of what Brooklyn is right now is because you saw the vision so many years ago, and I want to thank you. This is such a powerful exhibit to walk through. Oftentimes we use the term of a translator is a person who assists us in learning a language or communicating through a language that we don't know. But translation is more than words. It is actual and visualization as well. And what this exhibit is doing is allowing young people to come in. You can easily talk about the Holocaust, but to get that visual aspect, to actually see young people that look like a child talk about their experience, it's just so important. And we need to make sure that with the partnership of the Department of Education, New York City Public Schools, that children walk through here and identify with what this experience is about. As you know, I've been to Israel 3 times, and many of you that's in the room, I know. I think the real problem we're having is that we did not continue to hand down that knowledge, that tradition, and that's what we should dedicate ourselves to in 2024. In general, in the city and in the country, the rich tradition of giving back by the Jewish community, but it needs to be handed down in a real way to everyday people. When you have a student of Howard University protests against Israel and don't know that one of the co-founders and supporter with philanthropic help was someone like Julius Rosenwald, who was there to educate and start Howard University, Dillard College, these African-American institutions. But they don't know, as they talk about ending any forms of aggression, that if they're not aware of the Jewish relationship and educating thousands of young people during the point in this country where the young people were not able to get education. And they don't know that 50% of the whites that went to Mississippi during the most horrific period for blacks in this country were Jewish students. If they don't know that story, then they're going to be led by what's on TikTok, social media, Instagram. That is going to be a different story. When you have a visualization of this magnitude that children can walk through, they can start using their inquisitive nature to start asking questions and connecting the dots. And so the relationships that we are developing is not only with Natalie and Toby, it is with John and Jose and Jimmy, and just everyday people need to take back the narrative of who we are. And this is the place to do it, New York City. We're so fortunate to be in this city. Yes, largest Jewish population outside of Israel is here in New York, but it's more than that. This is a place of diversity. And I say to us, do not underestimate the intensity of the hate that is becoming pervasive and normalized across the globe. Anti-Semitism is not in our rearview mirror. It is very much in our front window. There is a real normalization of hatred, and it is becoming so pervasive, and people have become so comfortable with it. We are seeing it in our schools of academia, our colleges. We're seeing it in classrooms. We're seeing it as we walk the streets. People are comfortable with protesting and having symbols of hate and spewing out hate. We must push back on that. And the 3 things that I walked away with that was really impressive for me is, number 1, that everyday people were doing extraordinary things. They knew they could not pick up a rifle or beat the Nazis, so they had a newspaper. They organized. They were part of the boat crews. They did the small things that led to the larger victory. A second, they did not remain silent. How many in this city and country is watching what happened on October 7th? And we're not hearing their voices. Where is the outrage? That is the most troubling aspect, as Dr. King stated. It's not the actions of those who are evil, but it's the silence of those who are not, to paraphrase him. And I think third, that is more important than anything that I walked away with. We look at the ugliness of the war. I think about walking through Auschwitz several years ago in Krakow. But there was something beautiful about ordinary people in Denmark that just stood up for their neighbors, the Christians, those who put their lives on the line to hide people on the bottom of boats or in houses. The stats that say, the large number of Jewish residents that were able to survive. Sweden opening up their country. It's so important to end on that high note so our children can know that there is a solution to the problem. Don't be a detached spectator. Get involved. This exhibit is, you know, I've been to Yad Vashem in Israel, but this is probably one of the most important exhibits you could have placed here. This is an exhibit that translates to our young people. Our young people are going to change the course of the direction. We made a mistake. We thought everything was fine. We didn't continue the education. Dr. King had his Jewish colleagues and rabbis that marched with him. I know my friend, Bruce Radner, Josh, and many of you that's here, you know, are friends of mine. But our children don't. They don't. We have to do this so that they too can know how important our relationship is. And it's not lost on me that October 7th, 2023 took place during the end of Sukkot, your holiday, your acknowledgement. The October 1st, 1943 incident took place at the same time of a acknowledgement. So the evil of there, the DNA is still present here. And those terrible actions will still take place if we make sure they won't. I'm committed because I know we need each other. Because if I'm not here for you today, someone is not going to be there for me tomorrow. Evil is evil, and there's no place for hate in this great city we call New York, in this great country we call America. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this.
For our next speaker, I would like to call upon Toby Levy.
How can I say anything more than what the mayor had said? Hi, everybody. I had a lot of things on my mind to say, but your speech overwhelmed me, although I knew beforehand. I'm a child survivor. I was 6 years old. I survived just like you saw the Denmark people. I was hidden by a woman and her 16-year-old son. 16. Saved 9 people. I say I'm a miracle child, and I'm entitled to a lot of miracle things, what goes with it. I thank God have it. The United States was wonderful for me, let me live a great life. I've enjoyed all the years. My parents, my family, we came here, I've raised a family. Everything went well till the shock of the second shock came to me. I was in Israel for the holidays, came home 2 days just before the October 7th. When it happened on a Saturday morning, I was besides myself. I felt I'm living through the same thing. Couldn't get out of bed for weeks. Till one day, I put the TV on and I see the mayor Adams talking and saying the same thing. I don't stand for anti-Semitism. I will not allow it. Repeated all these things, and all of a sudden I got up and said, it's not the same. We have someone who hears us. Last time the whole world closed the doors from every country and they threw the keys away. There was no place to run. There was no place from anywhere. But now I hear an American guy standing in New York City, where I live, telling me, I understand you and I will allow it. The governor of the state says the same. Then the president says it. Then I started coming out of my depression, realizing not everybody is an anti-Semite. You're right. but there are some who are not, and that's you and many others. And the some that are not have to overcome. We have to work much harder. I have been trying to do it for the past 14 years, to talk to children and adults what it is to mean to hate. I don't hate anyone. I don't even hate the Germans or the Ukrainians. Why? A Ukrainian and a 16-year-old boy saved my life. I had a life after, my family. So how can I hate? I try to teach it in the schools. Many a times a child would get up and ask me, what do you want from me? I'd say simply, make sure that you don't hate me. If you do, find out why. Look around yourself. Talk to your parents. Talk to your kids. I try so hard. I'm going to try harder now. Instead of one class, I'll take 2 classes. I think there is a chance. I want to say thank you. You saved my life twice. No, once a 16-year-old boy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to call up on Brianna Brandman. So.
This is a tall order following Toby. First, I want to thank our mayor, our esteemed mayor, from the bottom of my heart. You showed so much humanity, and we need it badly. I am a survivor of the Holocaust. I was 8 years old when the war started. By the time I was 11, my parents were murdered. My 3 siblings, my 3 sisters and brother were murdered. My mother came of 11 children. Not one aunt or uncle survived. Their children were murdered. I come from Poland. Poland had 3,300,000 Jews. 90%, 3 million were murdered. Can you wrap your head around this? 6 million were murdered. 1.5 million innocent children. You know, I met the group from Connecticut where the children were so brutally murdered. That was relatively a small number. How does it compare to 1.5 million innocent children being murdered? So I want to emphasize, you know, I had a longer speech to make, but unfortunately, I'm overwhelmed. I also want to say, again, repeat how grateful, how unbelievably grateful we are, I am, to our esteemed mayor. He showed so much humanity. Humanity I'm not used to. I also want to thank, and I'm very grateful to this museum for allowing me to voice my concerns, to allow me to speak, to educate about the Holocaust. Now, by the way, Poland had 6 killing centers. The largest of them was Auschwitz. More than 1 million. Again, can you fathom this? More than 1 million were murdered just in Auschwitz. And the world was silent. And all the doors were closed to us. So when we have a humanitarian like our esteemed mayor, I just am really melting with gratitude. So, anti-Semitism is recurring very freely. People are free to voice their opinions very freely. I feel I'm back in Europe, in Germany. Words can kill. It started with words. So we have a mission, a great mission. We have to marshal all our resources to vanquish anti-Semitism before it's too late, and maybe it is too late. So I want to urge you, one and all, don't think it doesn't apply to you. It does apply to you. And after the Jews are murdered, others will suffer as well. What will it show? What will it tell us about humanity? Is this humanity? So I want to conclude. We must marshal our resources and fight this scourge. It should never, ever happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call upon Natalie, a survivor from the October 7 massacre.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Sanandaji, and I am a survivor of the October 7th Nova Music Festival massacre. On that horrific day, I, along with thousands of other innocent people, ran for our lives for hours while being shot at by the Hamas terrorists. I survived, but unfortunately, many others were not as fortunate. Some were raped and murdered on the spot, while others were taken hostage and are still being raped and tortured today. Surviving the October 7th massacre means that I survived an attempted genocide of the Jewish people in the span of a day. Surviving the Holocaust means to have survived a genocide that spanned 4 years. But who knows how long the October 7th attacks would have lasted if the Jewish people didn't have their own state and an army to protect them. The Holocaust showed us why the Jewish people need their own state and their own land to call home. And the attacks on October 7th showed us how different things might have been if the Jewish people had their own state at the time of when the Holocaust started. The Jewish people now have the right to defend themselves and the ability to do so. And they will continue to defend themselves. And I would like to thank all of our allies that have shown us their support and stood by our side during these difficult times, including Mayor Adams. Thank you for all that you have done and for standing by the Jewish people. We will never forget how much support that you have shown us and will forever be grateful.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call up Maurice, a local New Yorker whose family is currently being held in hostage.
I'm a member of 4 generations of persecution for. My mother was in the Holocaust. My generation, my sister was murdered by Hamas, and her husband Yossi too. Her daughter, Shiri, her husband Yarden, Ariel, the 4-year-old, and now the 1-year-old Fear as hostages. That's 4 generations of persecution. Why? For the simple reason that we're Jewish. Anti-Semitism has to stop. One of the first things I said when I was sharing Shiva, and I told family members, I said, my mother, I felt I was broken. I said, what do I do? How can I put up with this? What's going on? And I told my wife, my mother survived the Holocaust. She was a strong woman. She created a family. She made a family. She made us. She got grandkids and great-grandkids, and she survived. She was so strong, so I had to be like her, like you. We created the State of Israel because I saw your number. You don't see too many of those. And I see the strength of you. We created the State of Israel because what you went through, the Holocaust, because what you did. Now we have Am Israel. We have our own country. We have to fight for. So what is the problem? They didn't want us in so many places, not in Germany. Okay, so you have Israel, so now you can live in Israel. Fine, we have Israel. Leave us alone. Israel did not invade Gaza. Hamas did. I see anti-Semitism left and right. When I was a little kid, I faced anti-Semitism. And my mother told me one thing when people would call me, hey, Jew, oye, judío. I'm from South America, from Peru. And my mother said, so what? Tell them you're proud of it. And they will call me, oye, judío. And I say, I'm proud of it. I'm my 8-year-old kid. I remember that very well. And they will look at me. Oye, judío. Yes, I'm proud of it. And they left me alone. I have so many anti-Semitism or races in this country, especially now. I came to the U.S. in 1981. I never seen this country so divided as now. Never. When people came to me, we had a business, say, hey, go back to the country you came from. So what I did, I go behind the counter and I say, I'm Jewish too. You have a problem with that too? That's what I told them. What's happening in Gaza right now with the, I'm so glad to see you, Elad. It never met, I have not been in Israel so ever since. So to see you, it's not because you have my family, so every single one. We are one for all and all for one in this fight. And when people were coming to my house for Shiva, so many, 750 or maybe 800 people came to my house for Shiva. I was expecting a minion of 10 or 15 people. Close to 800 people came. And I said, you're not coming for me. You're coming for all Am Israel. You're coming here to mourn every single person that was killed in Israel, all the 1,200. Because we all got together. We all fight for each other. We all want to be one. And the way I see it, it's like, who else would have done what we did? It's hard to say. Like I have said every time I speak, and I've spoken many, many times, even abroad, whatever I say is on the moment is for what comes from my heart. I want to see every single hostage back. The humanity to having a 4-year-old or 9-month-old taken hostage. Where is everybody? Where is the whole world screaming and putting the pressure on Hamas and all the other country that is wrong? That is wrong. I'm sick. I'm tired of saying that. I need to get interviews and on TV and for what? What is happening? The U.S. is doing great. And Egypt is trying. And Qatar, maybe. What is the rest of the world? What are the politicians? I spoke with presidents in Argentina and Uruguay and Brazil. I spoke with them, with the two, and politicians and senators and everything. But what do we see? It's nothing. That a 9-month-old baby, instead of learning to walk and play, where the way he's supposed to be and celebrate his first birthday with a cake. So why do we celebrate his first birthday in Central Park? We lit the candle over there, or in Israel, in Kikar HaTufim, or other places in the world. Just to imagine that a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old have not seen the light of the light of day for 4 months. It's incredible. If somebody in the street kidnaps, like they call it, they would not kidnap. They were taking hostage of war, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And you catch a criminal like that took a baby like that, you go to jail for it. Everybody makes a big deal. And what's happening now? How much is happening? We are, not enough is doing. No, the world is not doing enough. This city is, this country is. And without your support, without everybody that listens, I say, I could not make it. I could not make it without your support. You give us the strength. You give me the strength. And you give us the strength to keep fighting, like, to the last bullet, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And for the last speaker, I would like to call upon Gideon Taylor, the president of the Claims Conference.
Mr. Mayor, you have been a leader and a friend for the Jewish community, for Israel, and for Holocaust survivors. And for that, we are deeply, deeply grateful for your friendship, your partnership. This museum is a place of education, of knowledge, of learning, of teaching in a time of hate. It's a beacon of light in this city and around the country. The Claims Conference recently released a survey, a demographic survey worldwide of Holocaust survivors. There are today in New York City 13,400 Holocaust survivors still with us, 13,400 individuals that many of you in this room do much to care for, to help, to make sure that their lessons are taught, that their stories are heard, and that we can take the messages that they give us for generations still to come. But we will reach a time when there will not be Holocaust survivors there to speak in their own voice and to tell their own stories. And we have to find new ways, new technologies to teach and to educate and to take the stories that we hear today and that we hear for those in schools and in videos and in films, to make sure that those will get transmitted to future generations in this world of dark and this world of hate. And we must continue our mission to look after Holocaust survivors. The Claims Conference is allocating significant dollars in New York City to help with home care and assistance, but it's not enough and will never be enough because we can never make whole what happened to Holocaust survivors. Every Holocaust survivor represents hope over despair, survival over destruction. Intertwined is often the deepest of pain and the strongest of resilience. I was in Ashkelon and I sat with a 96-year-old Holocaust survivor. And there were rockets falling, but he wanted to tell me his story of his time during the Holocaust. He talked about being in the forest, about wanting to give up, about when it all seemed to be at an end. And then he said, the daily war of existence seemed to me without hope, without purpose. But then once again, I would decide where to spend the night. And then he showed me what he wrote about his family. On October 7, 2023, from between the evil barbed wires emerged the horrifying scenes of fire, dust, murder, and the terrible massacre of innocent lives, reaching me once again. My dearest grandson, Yahav, may his memory be blessed, was murdered while protecting his wife, Shaili, and their one-month-old daughter, Shaya. And my dearest granddaughter, Hadar, may her memory be blessed, and her husband, Itai, may his memory be blessed, were slaughtered while defending their 10-month-old twins, Roi and Guy. I met Shaili, the wife of that one of those grandchildren who was killed, grandchildren of that Holocaust survivor. He was a filmmaker, and she was a filmmaker too, and she said, Yahava and I always wish that every film, even in the dark places, will have some compassion, something to hold on to. So when I make a film, I will probably put a little light in that film. The story of this family is a story of pain and devastation, but also a story of strength and creativity, a story of love and resilience. Perhaps in some ways, it's a story of Holocaust survivors, the story of Israel, and the story of the Jewish people. To the Holocaust survivors in this room, to the Holocaust survivors in New York and around the world, you inspire us to be better. You demand of us to be stronger. And you make sure that we will continue to fight for a better world for generations to come.
Thank you all for joining. The program is now concluded.